So we're going to have a
Hi,
interesting
everybody.
conversation.
This is Barbara Mayerson from joyandsuccess.com. And as part of my little mini summit that's going to be happening in a few weeks, I'm talking to another one of my favorite people, Michael Gross. And thank you so much for joining me today, Michael.
Thank you for having me. I love when we have these conversations and we get that positivity flowing. I'm all for that, as you well know.
Well,
So,
that's what I think we really need now. Like keeping, like talking yesterday about keeping our vibrations high, and just everything's crazy right now, and just like really keeping our vibrations high. And that's what you do, and that's what you help people to do. So, talk a little bit about how you got started, because I know we did it the last time, but we have more people now listening. So
well,
let's hear.
that's exciting. That's good to hear.
Yeah,
How I did it, how I got started was, and I was coming from a very dark place, and somehow, some way, found the idea of practicing positivity. People would talk about meditating, and I could never meditate. But someone talked about practicing positive energy, and I was like, "Well, what's that mean?" And when you're coming from a dark place, you don't want to hear people talk about practicing positive energy. You don't
right.
want to hear that at all, actually. Um, but somehow it's sort of the idea of it stuck. And what ended up happening was I would end up listening. I would walk my dog every day in the woods, and while he was off running in the woods, I would sort of listen to audiobooks on different things, like whether it was Joseph Campbell or Abraham Hicks or Eckhart Tolle or Wayne Dyer or any of the big names, today's big names. And it somehow got me going in that direction. But what really helped is I love watching football.
Mm.
And when that year the Super Bowl was on, and I love the Super Bowl. I don't go to Super Bowl parties because I really love the commercials, because all the big companies bring out their commercials. And as I was watching the commercials, and I was realizing, wow, these are the most successful companies of our time, and they're paying millions and millions of dollars to get into our conscious mind for 1 minute, so maybe they can be in our subconscious forever and ever. I thought, you know what, I can practice positivity for 1 minute a day, right? I can do that for 1 minute a day. And that's sort of where I started. I just started practicing for 1 minute each day, and it started bringing me out of my darkness, and really it became where I would practice a lot more, of course, than 1 minute a day. But really, I just set that as my time. Like, all right, I'm going to do it for 1 minute every day. I set my timer on my phone, and I would say something positive for 1 minute every day. And at the end of it, I allowed myself to go back to being miserable.
Right. Yeah. It's like we think we have to be positive all the time, but then like going back to being miserable is like, oh, good. I know how to be miserable. And
Now I'm back in my normal story. But what happened really is, as I would practice each and every day, it truly changed my outlook, and what I talk about, my vibration or my energy, really did start to change. And I don't want to say it started to change overnight or in a week or 2 weeks, but over time it started to change to where I started becoming more positive. And I don't have to tell you, Barbara, when you start becoming more positive and have a more positive vibration, more positives start coming your way. You
yeah,
start attracting more positive energy, and that's what happened for me. So
I think so. You set the
it
intention
was
that you were, or
great.
the commitment that you were going to do it for, you're just going to start doing it. And you were doing it. You didn't say, well, I don't feel like doing it today. And you went ahead, but you did it anyway.
You know what? It's funny. There were many days I'd say that, and one of my practices at that time, um, I was doing a radio show with a friend of mine, and somehow we interviewed Sark. I don't know if you know who Sark is, and she had talked about um, glad no matter what. I don't remember how it actually came into my head, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to do a high five every day. I'm going to do a high five. I'm going to come up with the 5 things from the past 24, 48 hours that I'm really happy about. And I talk about being in a dark place and not wanting to do it. I always said there were a lot of days when I was miserable, and I'd say, all right, come up with 3 things that aren't lousy in your life. And it just sort of, when you start thinking about anything, even those very small little things, um, for instance, maybe I had a good meal the day before, maybe I had a good night's sleep, maybe I was able, to sleep somewhere that was comfortable. I don't know. I would come up with anything that was positive in my life. And again, as I started doing it, I think you start training your mind to start looking for the positives, because I think our mind often goes to the negatives.
Yeah, yeah,
And you mentioned, how in today's society right now with the pandemic going on, it's harder and harder to stay positive because you're surrounded by such negativity, and I find it takes even more practice to keep yourself moving in that direction. Yeah.
yeah. And I think like being aware where your mind is going, because I know my mind goes in really negative, and I just have to say, stop it. Look at what you're thinking about, and you have to turn it around. And just, I mean, you don't have to, but it's if you want to
Well,
continue in
you might want to, though, right?
yeah, I mean, because I noticed that before, and your mind automatically goes negative, and you really, like you saying, you have to train your mind to to start being positive.
One of the things I had read at that time, which really got me interested, I guess, was that science or neuroscience or whatever it was would say, they would say you have, let's say, 50,000 thoughts in a day. The average human has 50,000 thoughts in a day, which I thought was shocking, and they may have even said more, but I used the number in my book as 50,000. And what was really more shocking to me was they said 40,000 of them, 80% of your thoughts each day on average, are negative. So one of the things I thought for myself, and I said, I won't be able to prove it scientifically, of course, but I know it happened for me, was if I could practice, like I said, being positive for 1 minute every day, maybe I could change those thoughts I have from 10,000 positive and 40,000 negative thoughts in a day to 10,500 positive and 39,500 negative, and then 39,000 negative, and 38,500. And I think I kept chipping away, and over time, I think what happened was I actually believe I now have more positive thoughts in a day than
Wow,
negative.
wow, that's great.
But it took a lot of time, and it took a lot of training, and you know it's what you tell yourself. What you tell yourself, you start believing, right? And it's interesting, like you just said. Well, you don't have to. And one of my practices became to be my own word police, and to make sure any word I used, which was have to, should, can't, I just started making sure I eliminated those words and said, it's my choice. I can do whatever I wanted. I don't have to go to work. I can choose not to. I'm going to have to, face the consequences of that, but it's my choice. And I think when I started, I guess, taking responsibility for my life, I started sending out a vibration that I'm responsible. And I started, as they say, imprinting my vibration on the universe instead of allowing the universe to just imprint whatever vibrations were coming on me.
And I don't think, I mean,
It was a
probably a
wonderful
lot of the people
experience.
in on my list and on your list and in the world that we are understand the power of our thoughts and the power that we create our own reality. And but they're looking for ways to change that and fix that and make it more positive. A lot of people are just so automatically negative, they're not even conscious of what they're thinking. But I think everybody, a lot of people in our world is conscious, and but it's just like, okay, I'm
I
conscious, I know
agree.
I'm thinking negatively. What can I do to think positive? Or what can I do? A minute, just one little minute or is Abraham
Well,
17 seconds?
17, and you know what, I started with, I wanted to do, Abraham would say 17 seconds and 34 seconds, and then it came up to 68 seconds. And I remember on my phone, it didn't have a second hand at those times. The phones, my cell phone only had minutes on the timer. So I was like, it'll be okay. I'll just do it for a minute. Um, and, and, and it's amazing because one of the things I find is my program is very simple. As a matter of fact, if I may, I'm going to do a little plug right now, because I'm having a challenge coming up on February 8th, where I challenge people to do practices with me for 5 minutes every day for 21 days.
Mm-hmm.
And the it's interesting because as I started, I had a challenge right before, and it worked out very successfully. A lot of people were in it, and it really helped a lot of people. And everyone said, "Let's do it again. Let's do it again." And so I said, "All right, let's run it again." And when I first started out, I was saying, "Listen, this is going to be sort of boring. I mean, we're just going to say the same thing." I say we're going to do 4 different practices for 1 minute, and I'll talk for a minute. So it's 5 minutes a day. But I say it's going to be a little boring, but it's how you got to, it's repetition, 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 and repetition teaches, right? You know, that's how you learn in sports. That's how you learn in music. That's how you learn in everything is repetition, getting it into your mind. So I would be like, all right, let's just practice something and say it over and over and over again until I get it in my mind. And some of the practices I would come up with, Barbara, I literally would say for 6 months, 9 months, every day. You know, it's interesting. I was listening to a meditation the other day, which talk about meditation. I could never meditate. Anytime I tried to meditate, I would fall asleep immediately, or I would just sit there, you know, with my mind, and I would pretend I'm meditating, but I wasn't. But what happened was, once I started doing these practices, I just got better and better at things, and more centered in my life and more happy, I guess would be a thing, where I was able to start meditating. And so now I listened to some different meditations, and I was listening to a guided one the other day where it was a positive affirmation meditation. And as I was listening to it, you know, they would say a positive affirmation, and then they would say a different one and a different one. And it was a very lovely meditation. But one of the things I said is, this isn't going to work for you. You're only saying it one time. You're not, you're going to, yeah, it's great and it feels good for that moment, but you got to get it into your head, man. You got to really get it in there. And the only way I found to do that is repeating it over and over and over and over and over and over again. So,
Yeah, and even the fact of saying it's not going to work,
Mhm.
it's not going to work. So you just have to like keep on saying this is going to work. It's going to just keep on saying it over and over and over again, and it will work eventually. And I mean, we don't
it will work
realize it,
eventually.
you know, yeah, we don't realize how negative we are about things, and just really changing our mind to the positive, and just with the negative thoughts and with what's going on in the world. It's, like you said, it's very hard to stay positive these days.
Right. It is very, it's easy to fall into that rabbit hole. I mean, let's face it, you're watching the news, or whatever's going on, and all of a sudden you get sucked into it, and you end up watching it for 3 hours at a clip, and of course you're going to come across, it's going to be harder to get your vibration back up again, because you just allowed yourself to get all that negative energy and take that in. Um, the good news, of course, is, and a lot of this came from the spirituality of things for me, but the good news of this is neuroscience will tell you that you don't even have to believe what you're saying. You just have to say it over and over and over again, and eventually your brain will wrap around it.
Yeah.
You know, so like when I'm doing these practices and the challenge, I'm thinking like, boy, this is boring, but I know it, but I know how valuable it is. You know, it's no different than you go to the gym and you do the same exercise every day to build up your muscles, build up your subconscious, build up your vibration, you know, get that positive energy flowing. I don't have to tell you, Barbara, you know better than most that when you know, whatever you're sending out, you're getting back, right? The
Right.
universe is sending exactly back to you. It's no different than nature, right?
Right.
You plant seeds of corn, you're going to get 10 times the corn. You plant, I don't know, lettuce, you're going to get 10 times the lettuce. I plant seeds of positive energy.
Well, that's great. I mean, like I've been noticing myself that listening to things online or whatever, I start to go down that negative road, but I focus on like really the joy and the positive. And if I'm having a problem with somebody, sending them, instead of getting mad at them and angry and confronting them, just sending light and love. And I'm into angels. Yesterday we talked about angels with my friend yesterday, and just sending them angels surrounding everybody, instead of hate and anger and being angry, which is what
Yeah.
I want to do. But I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to send love, but you have to really make it a conscious effort. You know, like I'm really
You
upset with this person, but I want them to be happy and healthy. How can I do that? And, sending them love.
uh, I often say, I pray for them. I pray for them. You know, and I don't know if I say those words a lot in my life, but I started saying that because I recognized that by getting angry and wanting revenge, or whatever, that really I'm sending out such a negative vibe. And of course, if I'm angry, the universe is sending me back more to be, I started recognizing that whatever my vibration was what I'm getting back. So I'll give you a great example. One of the practices in the book, and by the way, the book is The Wingman's Path to Positivity. If you can buy it anywhere anywhere you get your books. But one of the practices that I think really helped me tremendously was I started celebrating others. And by that, I mean, I never use the word, I talked about being the word police. I never use the word I'm jealous anymore because it's just
Wow.
such a negative vibration.
Yeah.
And of course, if I'm jealous of something, the vibration I'm sending out is one of jealousy. Well, just going to get back some more reasons to feel jealous.
Right.
Whereas if I'm celebrating someone's joy at having whatever it is they have, I'm going to get back more joy.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. I know I started to do that a little bit too. Like there's as you know, we were talking about swimming, and I was swimming and using for the pure joy of it, which was wonderful. And then
thank you.
There's a show about people having pools made for them, and these outrageous pools. And I've been watching it lately, and they're amazing. These gorgeous pools that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And instead of getting jealous of them, I'm like, yay! Not even my next life, in the next 5 years, I'll get something like that too. And like really being excited for people that are doing really well and having a lot of money, and like listening to these celebrities who have these huge homes and thinking, yay, they're really, have all this money, and to really start feeling happy for them and feel joyful for them. Whether or not I want what they have, I probably don't even want that kind of house, but I'm just happy for them, and just feeling there's so much joy and happiness around. And we really have to hone in on it. We have to really realize that's the way we're supposed to be. And we just lost it somewhere along the line.
You know what? I think so many of us want to celebrate the big things. Like we want big things to happen good for us. But what I recognize is when I can start recognizing the small things. Again, you start building your vibration with the small. You start building your vibration up with the small things. Like I always remember one time with my wife, we were getting in a car, we were going somewhere, and we were on time, perfectly. We were probably early, and I was like, congratulations to us. And my wife gave me her wifely eye roll, what I would call her eye roll, which usually I'm very deserving of. And I explained to her how no, you know what? I'm starting to congratulate myself for every little thing that's going right for me, for brushing my teeth in the morning, for doing this, for doing that, because it starts right. I think it starts right there. You start with those small things, and the big things will take care of itself.
Yeah, and now
you'll start getting more and more back.
I remember you were talking about congratulating yourself, and I think I did it for a little while, and then I stopped. And I think like to being able to celebrate your life, congratulate yourself. And my mother used to say, give yourself a gold star. I forgot about all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, just really being proud of yourself and feel really good about yourself. And then you could see it in others and saying, wow, you didn't want to go outside for a walk, but you did. Great for you. And to be able to do that. And I think that's
you didn't, right.
Yeah, that's a big key.
I think tomorrow, as you know, I do a practice every morning on Facebook for my group, and I video it. And I think tomorrow's practice is going to be give yourself a gold star. Give yourself a gold star. I like that. That's a good one.
I used to say that.
You know what? And you talk about law of attraction. That's wonderful. I love that one. And it's interesting. I talk, we always talk about law of attraction, of course, and you attract what you are, not what you want. You attract what you are. So I attract practices. Like, it's so interesting to me now. I'll be watching a movie, and it can be a dumb whatever movie, or it can be a very deep movie. It doesn't really matter. Or I'm in a conversation with you, or I'm in a conversation, or I'm at the sandwich shop getting a sandwich, and I hear something. I'm like, oh, that's a good vibration to practice. And so I really, because I practice these so often and do them every day for people, and for myself. I say for people, I really do it for myself, and others just happen to watch. I recognize that. I recognize that when I hear a practice, that it can be a good vibration. Like, give yourself a gold star is a good vibration, right?
Yeah.
Give myself a gold star. Nice.
And we're not used to being proud of ourselves.
So, thank your mother for that.
my mom is gone, but I'll thank her anyway,
All
but
right.
I'm sure she's listening, and she's listening down. And but we're not used to celebrating ourselves and being proud of ourselves and feeling good about ourselves. And we take ourselves brushing your teeth for granted. We do it every day and we take it for granted. And so, I mean, lately I've been thinking just of the
Right.
little things, being able to
Right.
get up, to wake up, number one, and number two, and just be able to walk and go to the bathroom, do the brush your teeth, and just being able to do things that a lot of people can't do anymore, and just being able to do that. And I think that
Right.
those are the little things, and more important, just getting just the day. And I think, about what the next step should be. The next step should be just feeling good about whatever's happening for the day, and just not worrying about the rest of your life. And
One of my practices is I'm having a great day. I'm having a great day, and and whatever's going on, I try and it's like, do I have rose-colored glasses on? Yeah, you better believe I have rose-colored glasses on. I try and see my day as it's a great day. I don't care if I'm going to the hospital for an operation. It's a great day, and I'm trying to find I guess maybe you'd say, the blessing in disguise that's there. Just because, again, it's so easy to let yourself, like you said, for some reason, we as humans allow ourselves, or focus more on the negatives of certain things. We'll remember what happened negatively more than we'll remember a little positive, right? And I think it takes a little work.
it's
There's a
practice.
saying in Buddhism that everyone can reach enlightenment. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it like takes
I,
practice, and like what you
I
were
was I
saying,
was saying,
Kelly, that you had to force yourself to do it because negativity was the rule, and you had to force yourself to be positive. So if people are out there
right,
saying, I'm really negative and I can't think of anything, you have to just notice that and saying, I don't really want to be like that. And I think that's the first step. If people say, I don't want to just keep on focusing on the negative, and then they'll think of little something. If I have a dog, I miss my dog, and just, but I probably took her for granted at times. And just, you take things for granted. And I think people will start to recognize, I don't want to keep on taking things for granted. And I'll find one little thing, even if I was able to have breakfast today. A lot of people don't have breakfast. They don't have enough food. So I'm able to have breakfast and just be,
good point. Good point.
take that, do that, and start to feel, and just little, like you said, little things. Start with little things.
Speaking of that, I had a fantastic breakfast today, but that's besides the point. As you were just saying, as you were just saying that, one of the things I thought of is, and what really sort of helped me understand this even better, was one time I was coaching this woman, and basically, she said, Michael, what are you talking about? Be thankful. What do I have to be thankful for? I'm hanging on here by a thread. And I said, love the thread. Love the thread. Because once you start loving one thing, it gets easier. You start finding more things. It just, let's face it. We've heard all the, some of our greatest teachers. They all say these words in their own words, right? Like what you focus on expands, right?
Right.
So, are you focusing? Ask yourself, what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on negative things in your life, or are you focusing on positive things?
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. And like when your mind starts going there, I was thinking when I swim at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm watching the sun come up, and I see
You
the
know, you're focusing on something.
huh. I lost you. And and just
You're
watching the
breaking up a
pink,
little bit there. I
like if I can, if I'm
couldn't
in,
quite hear you.
my mind is starting to go, I'm like, look at that pink sky, it's beautiful. And just start to really focus on one little thing that makes you feel good. And just say, I'm going down a negative path. No, I'm going to find a way to feel better. And that's what you did from the beginning, which is a great inspiration, because there are probably a lot of people,
Right. Really.
especially in now in this time and age, but even not, that are negative and sad and depressed, but that you were like that too, but you just forced yourself out of that little by little.
Oh, you know what? It took, it's interesting because I had some events in my life that like many of us would blame for my lot in life, where I was and what I started. And it took a long time, but I now look at it and I'll say, man, wasn't that great? That may have been the best thing that ever happened to me,
Yeah.
because it took me from one place in my life to where, hey, I always say it got me to discover the wingman's path to positivity. It got me to write a book. It got me to where I am now, where I'm helping so many people be more positive. And of course, as I'm helping more people be more positive, that energy is so valuable to me as well. It's just keeping my vibration so high. So it's been wonderful.
And I think if something goes wrong, I'm not sure if I mentioned this on my call yesterday, but I'll do it. I had a boom box and I broke it. And the universe made sure I broke it. I fell over it and broke. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to do now? And then I looked online, and there were boom boxes, not just with a CD player, with a tape player. I didn't think they made them anymore. I have this wonderful tape series that I got years ago, and I haven't been able to listen to it all these years. Well, so okay, so the universe said, go out and buy it. It wasn't that expensive. It was, pretty inexpensive. I bought it, and I've been listening to this now. So it's like, even when something looks bad, there's always a good reason for it. And the universe is trying to help you to find the other side.
Yes, I had mentioned one of the practices I talk about is everything happens for a reason, and a lot of people hate that saying. My wife included.
Yeah.
Like, don't say that to me. I hate that saying. So instead of saying everything happens for a reason, I say find the reason. Find the reason. Create the reason that this happened. Like in your case, it was easy to find a reason. So now you could get a boombox, which I think we're aging ourselves by using that name, but
right.
You're able to get a boom. Yeah, you were able to get a boombox with a tape player that helped you, so you can listen to that. So it was easy to find the reason, and I think if you look for it, and again, I talk about looking for the reason, because again, when you're doing that, you're immediately looking for positives in something, like find the blessing in disguise, the silver lining, all that different stuff. But I find that all you have to do is start looking for that. And when you do, when you make that commitment I say to the universe, but really it's to yourself, that I'm going to start looking for the positive in this situation, you're going to start finding positives. And when you do, you're going to find more. And it just, what you focus on expands. And
Right.
And I didn't say that, Gandhi said it or Buddha said it. And, I'm just following the great masters, right? I'm not telling you something that's brand new.
I know. I'm not
like when we
inventing
spoke about
anything, just getting the word out there.
right.
And yeah.
I just started reading. I was gonna say, okay, go on. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, like,
I was going to say,
go ahead.
What I was going to say is when I mentioned talking or reading or listening to the modern masters, like like Wayne Dyer and Abraham Hicks and Joseph Campbell and that, but really they all referenced the real masters of our universe, Jesus and Buddha, and I go to Einstein or Sir Isaac Newton or Shakespeare if you're into the arts, and when you just start seeing what they're talking about and just listening to what they're saying, you don't have to come up with anything. Just listen to what they're saying and practice what they say, and you're going to start living a better life.
Right. Well, Michael, this has been so exciting. Like talking to you again, reminding me about the whole thing, and I'm really so glad that you came on with me today, and I know everybody will be, and especially now, we need it more than ever. So thank you so much for being with us, and everybody, Michael, just
I appreciate you having me on, and
and listen to him, and just start.
Thank you.
Wherever
Appreciate
you are.
it.
Okay. Bye, everybody.